And I'm back again. Let's see if I can get an episode recorded before I go to bed. So, hopefully, I have it queued up and it will actually play this time. Where am I going? Right here. Do, 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 do. And play. All right. Let's hope everyone enjoys this one. Dave's quite a character. And with that, I'm going to mute myself. Claim to be one. I will, however, be referencing Alcoholics Anonymous because it is the granddaddy of all other 12 step programs. I will also be quoting things from the Bible and mentioning God along with different religions. I'm not trying to promote a particular program, nor am I trying to convert anyone. I believe religion gives us a foundation, and 12 step recovery guides people down a path to self actualization. Social disease has been with us since the dawn of time, but recovery has still been achieved by millions of people. Through recovery, healing is possible. I believe that changed minds and attitudes can change our world. Welcome, everyone. Today I have a new guest, and this is Dave. Welcome, Dave. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good morning, Jen. Well, my name's Dave Cleats. I'm an alcoholic, drug addict, currently sober for slightly under 22 years. I got sober on November 6, 2001, after getting drunk and almost hurting my wife. She had to put me in jail. I said if I ever went to jail for drinking, I would quit. And that's exactly what I did. I've never even dipped my finger into a drink to taste it. Um, it disgusts me. I'm lucky. Here I thought I did it all by myself. It took me years to realize that it was God that took it away from me. And I'm speaking of the God of the Bible that we read. In the Bible, he calls himself Jehovah. And no, it's not from Jehovah Witnesses. That's his real name. And it took me years to come to him. And that's a whole nother story in itself. But I'm very grateful I have God in my life and understand the trials that Jesus Christ went through to be my personal savior. And to comprehend that is something that is almost out of this world. Think that somebody was actually born of a virgin, murdered, and raised from the dead 3 days later is just the most incredible story in the world, you know? And he has definitely gifted me in many ways, but sobriety is the biggest one.
What other gifts do you share that God has given you? Like, how do you share those gifts?
My personal gift from God is a set of very talented hands. I'm an auto body repairman. I'm an artist. I restore vehicles. I build custom vehicles, boats, motorcycles, cars.
I've
And
seen some of your work. It looks amazing when it is completed. The wreckage that I've seen come in versus then you take it and you fix it up and you make it all brand new. And that's kind of how recovery is. You come in all broken and worn down, and through recovery, it's just a rebuilding process.
Boy, that's the truth. That's for sure.
You're a
Thank God
very
for
detail
miracles.
oriented person too. Like, how long does it take you to, I guess, flip a vehicle? Is that what you call it?
It could take anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple years. It depends on what I do. I have cars I've built that I've spent 5 years building, and they win trophies for the owners, and that makes me super happy. I got a 57 Chevy I did that's won over 200 trophies for first place. It's one of my pride and joys that I've done as far as a professional.
And
Many
has
other cars.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Has this been your profession your whole life, or have you had other professions before doing what you're doing now?
No, it's been my profession my whole life. I grew up around it. I knew when I was 5 years old I'd be painting cars. My uncles, two of my uncles were into it. My dad was into it. Your father, my brother, he was into it. And it comes natural to me. That's because of the gift of God. And I've earned an incredible amount of money through the years. Can't tell you how good I've lived. I've lived like a king. I really have.
Have you
And
always lived like a king, or is that something that's new? Were you living
no,
like a
it's
king when you were back in your
no,
addiction?
no, that's new. I felt like I was living like a king in my addiction. I always had money for my drugs and alcohol. I didn't have to go begging people. I was able to support myself very well with my career that I chose. It pays very well. And I got to work on some incredible stuff. I built wreck semis for many years, jackknives, rollovers, and I've built trucks that people were killed in, trucks that killed people, had investigators in when I've had the trucks cut apart, taking pictures, and many of them were due to somebody intoxicated driving. And seeing that carnage firsthand and repairing it, pulling body parts out. Yeah, I've found body parts. That's kind of gnarly.
Yeah, I can't really even imagine coming across a body part. Not only the smell, but just like the shock of it. Like, oh my God, this belonged to someone who was once alive and had a family that cared about them.
Exactly. People need to learn a little more respect for themselves in this world. Becoming ashamed of myself is truly why I got sober. I became ashamed of myself. Shame and guilt are very powerful factors in motivating somebody. At least it was for me. I'm sure it is for many others as well.
Yeah, I think that might be kind of like what hitting bottom is like. I know for me, I don't know. It's just, I was tired of living the way I was living, but I didn't feel like I was worthy of living a decent life. It wasn't until I entered recovery that I learned that I could forgive myself for the things that I've done, because I can't go back and change it. The only thing I
Boy,
can do is live a better life now.
I sure understand that. I had a hard time forgiving myself for many years. It wasn't until I brought Christ into my life that I was able to do that. And that's only been about 5 years now since my brother died. I picked up the Bible and had many discussions with my son in law. He's read several Bibles, and through our discussions, I decided to read the Life Application Bible. It took me 18 months to read it cover to cover. It's a learning Bible. I highly recommend it. It's in modern English that you can understand and keep with it without scratching your head of the these and thous
Yeah,
and
old English.
exactly. It's a great tool. It certainly helped me, and I'm very grateful to this day. I worship Christ. I understand what salvation's all about and the course he went through with all the prophets in the Old Testament talking about how the Savior would come. It's incredible how close those stories were to the truth once it arrived.
Right. And you said that you've read other Bibles. Has there been a difference between the Bibles that
Just
you have read?
the King James Bible. It's in the Old English. So I struggle with the language in it, you know. That's why I chose the other Bible.
Makes sense. I've been looking at the Bible a lot lately too, but I see different things. So I'm not even going to go into my aspect right now. This is about introducing you and talking about your path to recovery, I suppose you could say.
Without recovery, I'd definitely be dead at this point. I was the crazy one. When I get drunk, I like to get wild, fight, fight with the police. They hauled me away many times, drive my car, get in police chases. I always found that really exciting, especially when I would get away. And in today's society, that's almost unheard of, but I would, and I did. And I was proud of it at the time. I thought that was the shit, you know, but what a danger I put on society now that I look back at it. I could have killed somebody walking across the street or ran into somebody and killed a whole family, you know. I had no regard at the time.
And a lot of people don't have regard today. Like you see it all the time on the news. And I just wish that there was some way to get through to these people that you're not the only person in the world. There are other people that exist.
Yes, there are. And the more that we take into consideration other people, the less we think of ourselves. That helps us move forward in society, you know? You can't go around living for yourself. It just doesn't work. It doesn't. I've tried. You know, you can get so far, but that's it. You got to bring others in, man. It's a brutal life. The world is brutal. The challenges it puts us through are incredible. And for those facing addiction, then you add other medical things in, like being bipolar, such as I am, and you have a whole new set of circumstances to deal with. And without help, man, I would just be over the edge because I'm crazy.
What does it
I
feel like
love
to be
crazy shit.
yeah, what does it feel like to be bipolar? I mean, I've never really talked to anyone who is bipolar about how it feels.
It's scary, you know. I can flip on the snap of a finger, go from the happy Mr. Wizard into Godzilla. Godzilla's pure destruction. That's what I was. I was very destructive in my life, both physically on myself, mentally, and all around. I was wild. I was dangerous. That's what I was dangerous. And I thank God that I'm not that way anymore. I certainly do.
So when you
I'm not.
feel those feelings start to bubble up within you, are there certain things that you can say to a loved one? Say, "Hey, I'm starting to slip," or something. Is there something that can snap you out of it faster? Because I know when I get into my spirals, it's harder and harder to get out of them. But through recovery, that ladder to get out is shorter and shorter. I realize all I got to do is stand up. The ladder isn't out of reach. It's my own mind that's keeping me held back.
No, my ladder goes all the way to the top, but it has no rung, so it's pretty worthless.
Oh,
It,
that's horrible.
it's consuming. It really is, and there's nothing that can snap me out of it other than time and praying and hoping and just talking positive vibes. It's very scary being bipolar. You know, I've become very dangerous. And I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", 240 pounds. And when I get angry, you know, stay out of my way because you're going to get hurt. And it's never my intention, but it's just the recourse of what I do at that time, it's out of my control 100%. Even though I take medication for it, that medication's no guarantee. It does a pretty good job at keeping me level. The level is all I get. I don't experience a whole lot of joy anymore. I'm more flat than anything instead of the roller coaster that I go on. The roller coaster, my highs are so incredible. They're, well, they're to die for, man. They really are. I love, I love being manic. I can do anything and I can do it quickly and stay focused. Then it all comes crashing down. I've spent up to 3 months in bed before from the depression end, and that sucks. Wanting to kill yourself. Can't tell you how many times I've wanted to kill myself through my life. But I've had friends that have killed themselves, and I just can't bring myself to do that. I believe it is so selfish and undeserving. God put us on this earth for a reason. Whatever that is, I have no clue. But I'm going to go to the end and have faith that He's got my back and I'm doing His work. I speak of my change in my religion. That's what you want to call it. I'm not a religious person, but I certainly believe in God.
Yeah, a lot of people, they just completely shut down anytime someone mentions God or religion. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just a stigma around religion, or do you think it's because they think
I,
that God and religion takes all the fun out of your life? Like you're never going to have fun if you're sober, if you're doing good
I
things.
totally believe people think it takes the fun out and they're afraid of the truth. And the truth is so exciting and there's just nothing to be afraid of, you know? Every day now, God gives me a sign, even when I don't need it, that He's real, man. All I got to do is look at my cat and dog and see the awesome creation that He's created and the comfort that they bring me. And I look at the trees and nature and the lakes around me, with all the fish and the birds and the insects. And how can it just be by chance? It can't be. I believe it's all by design. And it's thrilling. And there's there's no limit to the happiness you can endure once you bring Christ into your life. It's amazing. And I recommend it for everybody.
So would you say that with your happiness at finding God and having that spiritual connection now, is that kind of, I know it can't replace your manic states, but can it bring you happiness even though you're like a little more level now? Do you still feel
Abs-
joy?
Absolutely. Yeah, I still experience joy, just not on the level that I used to, you know. Sometimes it's fleeting, you know, in the blink of an eye, be gone. And that's just the way it is. You have to learn to understand that God's not responsible for your happiness. He gives you the tools, He gives you everything you need. If you learn how to work with that, you're further ahead of the program. It's free for the taking. And all you have to do is believe. It's so easy. What could be easier, you know? I don't understand. Thankfully, I have a wonderful pastor, Pastor Mike. I met him at a funeral and his vibe turned me on and I wanted to experience what Pastor Mike was experiencing. He's one of the happiest dudes I've ever met in my life, and he's changed me. I had him baptize me and my wife. We were very willing. I was the first one in. I couldn't wait. I was so excited. March 23rd. And that's a day that changed my life, too. Just the fact that I publicly acknowledged Jesus and brought him into my life in front of a couple hundred people is amazing. It really is. The Holy Spirit is definitely fallen upon me. And I appreciate that. Without that, I wouldn't want to be here. I would go back to considering suicide,
Yep.
but that's not going to happen. I have way too much to live for.
Yeah, when I was depressed, I was contemplating ending my life, but it's not so much that I wanted to end my life. And I don't think a lot of people really do. They just want the pain to go away and they don't know how to make the pain of being a human go away. But the problem is, you have feelings. Humans have feelings, and you have to learn how to sit through those uncomfortable feelings sometimes. And people just don't want to do that. They just want to be happy all the time. And that's not how life works.
No, and you have to be willing to put the work in, you know? It's not something that's just handed to you and it's an automatic given. Without the work from you, it's worthless and there's no sense, you know? It's all a matter of understanding. Once you understand and beginning experiencing joy of Christ in your life, there's nothing that you can't handle. At least for me, there isn't. I went through an episode last night. We learned of a relative that died at age 48. And my wife got all upset because she lost her remote control for the TV and spazzed out. It's like you really need to take a step back and look at what you're doing, you know? We're talking about a remote. Well, here we have a family member that's passed, you know? Your priorities straight. Priorities is something people need to learn how to put in line. That's very difficult. There's no set course for it, that's for sure. There's no class on it either. They don't teach you that shit I'm sorry, in high school.
That's okay. One slipped word can get through.
My bad.
That's all right. I forgive you.
Thank you. Didn't mean to.
That's okay. So, we're about to wrap up here with this first interview. So, if there's people still struggling out there, what do you want to say to people who are how you used to be or how you are? What kind of hope can you give to these struggling people?
Best thing I can say is know that somebody out there loves you and don't give up on yourself. Look around, you know, there's so much that life offers. And with or without Christ in your life, myself, I don't see another way, but I'm sure there are. I know many antagonistic people and outright non believers, and the quality of their life is fine, you know, but it's what happens at the end of that life that really matters, you know. We take for granted that this is everything. This is just the beginning, and forever is an awful long time. I don't know about you, but I can't comprehend it. But you got to respect yourself and be willing to put the hard work in. If not, you're not only not going to succeed, you're just not going to gain anything. So my advice is just keep on keeping on, you know? Let the little stuff slide off your back. It's really not that important. Better things are out there to come. And I hope anything I've said today may help or inspire somebody out there, because it was people that inspired me that were sober, including my brother. You know, it's funny. All the years of addiction in my family, I never once had a drink with my brother. And I used to worship him. And he was the craziest, wildest drunk I knew. But yet, he got sober before I turned 18. And when he had his relapse, we weren't talking. It's because I got him a telephone and paid the bill that we were able to mend our relationship. And he was able to reach out to his kids. I don't know if he ever reached out to you at all, but I certainly know he did Julie. And the joy that brings me alone is incredible, to know that he had been away for so long and was finally making amends and having some kind of relationship, you know. And his youngest son brought him so much heartache and disappointment. And yet, when he almost died, his dad never came to see him. And boy, that kid really took that to heart, you know. He held it against him. So when Rick was dying, I took Ty to Texas to see him. And it was God's choice to have Ty with him the moment he passed. And I think that's an experience everybody should go through, is being with somebody when they pass. I was with my stepmother when she passed. It was an incredibly humbling experience. So I don't know what else to tell you.
No, I think that's pretty good. Um, so we'll wrap it up there. And like Alice Cooper kind of says, it's the little things that drive us wild.
Isn't that for sure? At one point, I'd poison a blind man's dog and steal his cane, as Alice would say, and go to hell.
Yeah. All right.
I'm
Well,
just not
thanks.
that rude.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your experience, and we'll have you as a guest again for another topic.
Absolutely. I appreciate you inviting me, and I hope you have a great day and everybody out there. And I hope this reaches somebody and in some way touches them with a positive vibe.
Yeah, so do I. In closing, I would like to say that the opinions expressed here were strictly of my own making or by my future guests. Take what you like and leave the rest. You may come to realize that you may not like me or what I want to share. Let's talk to each other, reason things out, but let there be no gossip or criticism of one another. Let the fellowship of ethical human behavior and the serenity from positive human interaction help you grow and chill out, one experience at a time. I would like to thank my higher power for guiding me through this podcast. I hope to spread the message of love, hope, and understanding by touching one life at a time. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll be back with some more episodes when I'm not so tired to record. So have a good night, everyone.